Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to test your Hebrew. A little Hebrew test here. Help me translate. Arba midot benotnei tzedakah. So arba, 4, midot. What's that? Measures, character traits in this type. In this case, it means types. Arba midot benotnei, as in letate or notain, to give tzedakah. So according to Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our ancestors, there are 4 types of people who give tzedakah. And the Mishnah goes on to describe 4 we might call archetypes of donors. There are those who themselves give, but they don't want anyone else to give, seemingly because they want to take all the credit for themselves. On the other hand, there are people who want everyone else to give, but they themselves don't give. And the Mishnah goes on to describe all 4 archetypes. It got me thinking, I wonder if there are 4 types of tzedakah collectors or donor relation managers. I imagine that Matt Haar would have something to say on the matter. Matt is Bethel's new director of charitable giving, and we are very blessed to have him as a colleague, as well as to have his wife Erin and their children and his parents as members here at Bethel. You can read about Matt in this morning's HaKol, and he'll introduce more about himself in a moment. But I want you to notice that the original Mishnah speaks of arba midot, and some of you correctly said that a midah is like a soul trait or a character trait. Matt has himself many wonderful midot, as you will surely come to learn. He is thoughtful and kind. He is experienced and deeply committed and more. With his guidance, we look forward to growing our community's culture to what the Mishnah described as a chassid, to being a place where everyone wants to give and everyone sees themselves as responsible for giving. With that, I'd like to invite Matt to come forward to share with us some words of Torah this morning.
Shabbat Shalom. As you know, my name is Matt Haar, and I'm honored to be on the Bima exploring this week's Parsha with you. I'm pretty humbled to be doing so, and I'm excited too. I've been a member of Bethel for a few years. I'm a husband, father to 2 young children, Mira and Ari, who are probably at home, maybe napping. I'm the grandson of Holocaust survivors. I'm a percussionist. I'm a student of religion and philosophy, and I'm also Bethel's new director of charitable giving. I've worked in the field of philanthropy or charitable giving for the past 15 years, leading up to this role with Bethel. And over that time, I've learned giving means different things to different people. For me, the idea of tzedakah started taking shape when I was young. I remember my dad showing me the tzedakah box and explaining its meaning, that tzedakah comes from tzedek, righteousness or justice. And many years later, now I get to watch my own daughter. Maybe it's a slightly less erudite moment, but she's 3 years old. She runs across the room and she yells, "I want to do tzedakah!" I had to make a special trip to the bank to get more coins for her, and you can still get pennies. It's a small thing when this happens, but I remember it every time I look at the tzedakah box, and she reminds me of the joy of giving and how these values are passed down from one generation to the next. But still, I never expected to work in fundraising. I don't know if anyone does, but I didn't know what to expect when I started. I took a temporary job at a zoo in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And, I was up at the computer, I was doing my fundraising work, and then they came up and they whispered in my ear, they said, "Tomorrow we need you to do something different, we'll come and find you." And they asked me to play the role of an escaped animal, so they could try and capture me. And I played a snow monkey very successfully, and a red kangaroo, and so on. And some people have informed me since starting here that working in the Jewish community may not be so different. I guess we'll find out. But over the past 15 years, I've discovered something much deeper about giving. Philanthropy, at its best, is really about more than money. It's about listening to our hearts. Again and again, I've been privileged to stand with people and hear them describe their giving in these terms of a broader personal vision. To build hope in a world that can feel hopeless, to pass something meaningful to future generations, to provide secure spaces for us to live with and love our friends, family, and neighbors. And in Jewish tradition, we have words for these impulses. Tzedakah, tikkun olam, repairing the world, chesed, loving kindness, lador vador, being a good ancestor to future generations. And this week's Parsha offers us another word, perhaps less familiar, that brings these ideas together. The word is truma. Truma is a gift or offering. In this case, one taken to build the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary. And its root meaning is to elevate, as an offering to God may be elevated, lifted up, or as the act of giving may elevate the giver. Parshat Truma is the Torah's first sustained teaching about giving, and it's not about obligation. It's about what happens when a community gives from the heart and how that act transforms them. So turning to the Parsha, the text begins by Daber Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the Israelites, v'yikhu li truma, that they accept from me an offering, a truma. Me'et kol ish asher yidvenu lebo, from every person as their heart moves them. And the purpose is explained several verses later, as Rabbi Goldberg shared, v'asu li mikdash, let them make me a sanctuary, v'shachanti betocham, that I may dwell in their midst. Our commentaries emphasize first that the truma, this offering, is completely voluntary. According to Rashi, the Hebrew verb implies a voluntary goodwill contribution. Ibn Ezra concurs the contribution mentioned here was a voluntary gift, and Bechor Shor emphasizes the truma was not collected by force, which is seconded by Abarbanel, who says no one was to be forced to give. These voluntary gifts from the heart are used to build the sanctuary, not so God may dwell in it, but so God may dwell betocham, among them, among the people. Coming right after Mishpatim, a parsha full of rules and obligations, it's striking to me that we begin with something so different this week. This is an invitation to look inward. There's no command, no requirement, just give as your heart moves you. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks sees this week's Parsha as a turning point in the people's journey from slavery to freedom. God leads them out of Egypt with a mighty hand, yet at every setback, they complain, they resist and rebel. One of my favorites, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? They say at the Red Sea in Exodus 14. They're wonderful complainers. But even after the miracle at Sinai, when God appears to the whole people, 40 days later, they're at it again, losing heart, they build this golden calf. These people, again and again, miracles fail to transform them into a unified people. But then comes Truma. In the Truma, Israelites are invited to give according to their hearts, to take a voluntary, active role in their liberation for the first time. And their attitude seems completely changed here. There's no complaining. And looking ahead to Exodus 36, Moses even says the people are bringing more than is needed, and he has to ask them to please stop. We'll let you know if we have that problem at Bethel. What all the miracles could not accomplish, the act of building together does. The people look to their own hearts, embrace their role as builders of the Mishkan, and they transform their community into a place where God may dwell betocham, among them. To quote Rabbi Sacks, it's not what God does for us that transforms us, but what we do for God. A free society is best symbolized by the Mishkan. It's the home we build together. And it's only by becoming builders that we turn from subjects to citizens. We have to earn our freedom by what we give. It cannot be given to us as an unearned gift. The Israelites thus become a unified people, not when God acts for them, but when they act together. They build a home for God, a Beit El, a Bethel, and in doing so, they are elevated. Now, this spiritual truth that giving and building together transforms a community is not only ancient, it's something we've lived here at our Bethel. That phrase, v'asu li mikdash, let them make me a sanctuary. If you go out the doors and look over the menorah, it's actually right up on the wall, right there. V'asu li mikdash, like a reminder or an invitation. Let them make me a sanctuary. And nearly 10 years ago, we answered that invitation here in a new way with a bold decision. We shifted the financial model of Bethel from required member dues to one that was about voluntary giving, a modern form of terumah. This was a radical move, a rare one, I understand, and it beautifully expressed our core value of kahila, community, widening that circle of belonging and participation at Bethel. Since the change, I understand, I've only been around a few years, our shared sense of purpose and vision has deepened. Engagement at Bethel is now at its highest level in the last 10 years, and new members are regularly joining the community, and charitable support has grown. We've reinvested in our spaces through the Ashrei campaign, and the building is evolving I guess not as we speak, but it will on Monday. The Aleph Preschool is building this new infant classroom for the fall. We continue to see new growth and transformation here. Then as now, what we build together brings us together. Giving elevates us, and when we give from the heart, we find our spirit. We're unified, and we create the kind of community where God may dwell among us. Just as in the wilderness, our modern-day Truma has the power to shape who we are and reinforce our deepest values. It reminds us that a sanctuary is never only a structure, it's the people who choose again and again to build it together. And that's why, looking back, I'm very grateful to work in charitable giving, because I've gotten to see this power of Truma, this giving from the heart again and again. People often describe it as starting in a quiet moment when they can hear the voice of their own heart. And they're moved to carry that vision out into the world. They know they must respond. It's a beautiful thing to hear and to be a part of. And I know that many of us here today have that relationship with Bethel. This is the true home of God in the desert, in our communities and in our lives, a still small voice that we respond to by making the world better as best as we can. So as we sit with this week's Parsha, I'd invite you to ask with me, what truma, what gift lifts my heart, elevates my spirit? And what is my role as a builder of Bethel? May these questions guide us so we continue to be Bethel, Beit El, a house where God's presence dwells. Thank you so much for letting me explore the Parsha with you here today. I look forward to my new role, to getting to know many of you better, and working toward a strong future for our community. Shabbat Shalom.